What's up everybody, this is BR, and it appears that Overwatch League is in a bit of a pickle at the moment. As due to the high cost that it takes to be part of the Overwatch League, many teams are now kind of pushing back against Activision Blizzard in order to, recoup a little bit of the losses that they've had. And before I talk about the meat and potatoes about the thing, I just kind of want to say, man, I kind of, I'm pretty good at predicting these kinds of things. I mean, just a couple days ago, I released my video talking about how Blizzard really isn't paying attention to the competitive scene, and because of that, that could have ramifications with Overwatch League. Well, look at that now. Now there's an actual pushback by the teams because they don't have confidence in Overwatch League. But, let's talk about that for a bit. So if you're not in the know, there's been news talking about how a bunch of teams have, teamed up with a British law firm in order to negotiate with Activision Blizzard to, at the very least, get a little bit of compensation for their continued participation with Overwatch League, even though it really isn't doing anything for them. And it would actually be a good financial decision to just leave Overwatch League completely, but of course, might as well try getting a little bit out of it. And that's the source of the arbitration. It's just as a way to kind of negotiate things with Activision Blizzard in order to continue their own existence. After all, it costs millions, and I mean millions, to not only be part of the Overwatch League, which they have to pay for, but also the players who also need to make a living, as well as anybody else who has any kind of managerial status with that Overwatch League team. And that's also not including the expenses that you have to do in order to, travel places because of how Overwatch League operates. And this has pretty much been culminating ever since, the beginning of Overwatch League's inception, because this was definitely one of those things that could have definitely happened. Like, I get that hindsight is 20/20, but honestly, this was one of the many possibilities, and personally, one of the most likely. Because to put it frank, in my opinion, Overwatch League was always, a little bit of a bubble. It was always being banked on for investment rather than actual profit. Which, in case you're a little bit surprised, yes, these teams are made for profit. That's what it's all about. All that investment, all that faith that was put into Overwatch League was just so that, those teams can make something out of it. The owners of those teams could make some profit. This isn't some, open secret or anything. It's not even a secret at all. It's literally what they are made for. Well, you really think these teams are doing it out of the, goodness of their heart because they want to play the game, because they want to see Overwatch flourish? No, it was all an investment, so that way they could make money out of it, because esports was seen as something that was, up and coming. It was supposed to rival real sports. It was supposed to rival real sports in the amount of monetary gain that they make. I mean, think about it. I mean, just the fact that the Overwatch League logo looks a lot like the Major League Baseball logo, and you see that, yeah, you really can't blame investors believing that maybe Activision Blizzard was trying to make, the very next MLB or NFL or the World Cup organization. Because that's honestly how it sounded way back then when I first heard about Overwatch League. Which, to be truly honest with you, I never gave a shit about. I wasn't an Overwatch player back then, and Overwatch League didn't intrigue me at all. I mean, sure, I liked the fact that video games were getting a little bit of notoriety, especially esports, but to be frank, I still didn't care. But that's, besides the point. Even then, Overwatch League always sounded like such a bad investment, because unlike regular sports, you don't have that big of a player base, quote unquote, with Overwatch. Overwatch is just another game. It wasn't ever going to be at such a big caliber as any kind of sports that have existed for hundreds of years, that just wasn't gonna happen. And you don't see this with any other game either. I mean, Dota, Fortnite, Apex, ALGS, they're not run anywhere near the same as Overwatch League. They're a lot more small scale because they know exactly how they're gonna make that profit and exactly what kind of audience they're gonna sell towards. And because of that, you could measure how popular the esport is gonna be by just how popular the game is. However, that wasn't the case with Overwatch. Overwatch League was a bubble. It was just something that was marketed and invested heavily, but would never be able to reach that kind of potential. Nobody was gonna really see a return on investment, at least to meet up with the insane amount of speculation that people had for Overwatch League. They really thought this was gonna be like, a multi-trillion-dollar industry or something, just with Overwatch alone. No, that was never gonna be the case. I don't care how many Overwatch scholarships you get for your college, that's just never gonna happen. And so now we have this situation where Now teams are like, all right, we kind of got screwed over here. Let's try to get a little bit of something out of it before, Activision Blizzard just pulls the plug. Because I kind of see that in the near future. I see Overwatch League being just, all right, that's it, it's over, now we're just going to have maybe a smaller form of that league. Because I'm sure the expenses that are required to run Overwatch League are just way too fucking high the way that it is at the moment. Because if you continue reading with any of these articles that talk about it, there's a bunch of them, I don't know which one is the original one. They say very clear that Overwatch League was never really that profitable to begin with. Viewership numbers were never that good. Merchandising sales, not that good either. Profits weren't really making ends meet, and because of that, many teams have had to either pull out or lower their expenses. Put on top of that the lack of sponsorships and the lack of faith because of, Activision Blizzard doing all that bullshit with California and all those sexual harassment lawsuits. And you've got yourself something that nobody has any faith behind. I don't even think Overwatch League could ever rebound from this. I think the name has just been a little bit too tainted by Activision Blizzard. And from what I've read, they haven't actually found any sponsorships after YouTube because of everybody just pulling out immediately after, those revelations were revealed about Activision Blizzard being a kind of a shitty company. So now we just have Overwatch League being a husk of its former self. Absolutely no speculation. The bubble burst, all right? It's no longer, I think, going to go anywhere. And I really don't blame the teams for wanting to have arbitration in order to get a better deal out of it. Maybe not have to spend so much money to be part of Overwatch League. Or, getting a little bit of payback, maybe some sort of rebate or something in order to recoup a little bit of their losses because, honestly, I don't think Activision Blizzard is even trying anymore with Overwatch League. There's just no money to follow. You follow the money, but when that shit's dried up, then yeah, you gotta cut your losses. Mark my words, I really do think that Overwatch League is either A, going to be repurposed or, reworked from the inside ground up in order to be a lot more affordable. Either that or be a lot more small scale so that way it actually starts making a profit, especially with the popularity of Overwatch 2 at the moment. I know many people are saying, oh, Overwatch 2 is dead. It isn't. It actually has a really good player base and really good numbers at the moment because of its free-to-play nature and it's a lot more casual style. I talk about that in my other video, go check that out. Or they're just going to completely phase it out because honestly, it's not worth it. Overwatch was never going to be that big to begin with, and because of that, it was never going to make the money that it promised to all these investors. I mean, in the beginning, you had all those news about those big investors, that actually owned real-life teams, real-life sports teams, and they were going into Overwatch like, yeah, I have complete faith in this whole esports thing. I'd really like to hear their opinions because honestly, I don't think it's the same. I really don't. Now, I could go into like another 10 minutes talking about every single little thing that, went wrong with Overwatch League. But you know what? I think this video is already long as it is, and I don't think you'd want to hear something like that. I'm sure there's plenty of videos that are like way more informative about that stuff, that go into detail about what exactly killed Overwatch League. So I'm just going to let them do, all that talking and stuff. I'm just here to talk about the current situation and the way that I see it. The bottom line is that any kind of league, any kind of thing that requires people to dedicate huge amounts of their time is going to need profit because people need to, feed their families, feed themselves, have a home, do stuff. And if you as a league cannot deliver on that stuff, then nobody's going to have faith in it. Nobody's going to want to be a part of it. People are going to pull out, especially if you get sued by the state of California for being particularly naughty. And it's just not going to be worth anybody's time. And that's what I think Overwatch League is. It's a waste of time. And honestly, personally, if I was in the position of anybody who is running Overwatch League at the moment, I would just say, cut your losses. Give everybody a little bit of money. Say, thanks for the experiment. It was a failure. All right, on to brighter futures. Overwatch 2 is doing a lot better. So, maybe we'll do something a lot smaller scale. But for now, thumbs up, peace out. I'll catch you later. But now I'd like to hear from you. What's your opinion on this whole fucking situation? Because honestly, I'm not surprised. I mean, I am surprised that the news kind of came out of nowhere, But at the same time, not really. You know, these people deserve to get paid. What's your opinion on the issue? If you found this video interesting, like it if you like it, dislike it if you disliked it. If you'd like to see more content just like this more in the future, make sure to subscribe. And if you'd like to support this channel, I do have a Patreon in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later.